it's the Tennessean Taroist here. We got my curtains. Felt the need to do kind of a 101 feel for how to learn tarot. This was not something that I grew up with. Obviously, I grew up in the buckle of the Bible Belt, and where I come from, tarot is a no-no. And so this was something that I turned to as a means for working through pain coming out of a divorce, and felt like it was something I would probably be good at and had no one to turn to teach me, so I had to learn on my own. And what I would like to do now is to kind of pay it forward. So for anybody who might find themselves in a similar situation, or maybe you just need something to pass your quarantine time with, I would like to teach you how to read tarot cards. So I feel like the best place to start is with the traditional foundation. So for that reason, I'm using the Radiant Wise Tarot. So this is also called the Rider-Waite Tarot. This is one of the first decks I ever owned. And I recommend this one as the first place because this is traditional. If you want to learn how to read intuitively, which is what I do, you have to start with the basics, right? Like this is where the traditional meanings from the cards, this is where they come from. And the pictures in the cards are what kind of guide intuition. So best place to start is always with home. So let's get going. To begin, the tarot is basically 5 sets of cards. 5 little bitty sets of cards. I'm going to try to pull these down so you can see them. That's not real great, and this is a whole nother deck. Just completely disregard that. So, how about that? Is that better? I don't have the greatest of setups here. I'm going to get it. I'm going to be a freaking weather woman by the time this is all said and done with, right? I went through these and straightened them all out and organized them. So this is kind of how I learned to read. 5 groups. So they're based on major cards and minor cards. So the major cards, there are 22 cards here numbered 0 through 21. And this tells the story of the Fool's Journey. If you have any sort of background in literature, this is very similar to the hero's journey, which most stories emulate. It is the Fool's Journey, okay? So these are your major cards, your major arcana. They represent universal energies that are much bigger than what you find on the day-to-day, okay? So this is energy that is not just for right now, right here in this moment, or really even anything that you can manipulate. This is what Spirit, God, Buddha, Muhammad, whoever you identify with, all of them in my opinion, this is bigger than you, okay? And then you have the 4 elemental suits. This is where we get playing cards from. So tarot started with like gypsies, right? Many, many moons ago. And they developed playing cards as a system to hide this. And the majors were actually double meaning, like embedded in those other cards. So 4 elements, okay? You have cups, which is water energy. This is Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio. This is emotions, feeling, intuition. This is like love, right? Then, to cut to that, you have swords. This is air energy, so your thoughts, logic, communication. This is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Okay? Facts. Then you have pentacles or coins. This is earth energy. This is the practical, the materialistic, the tangible. This is real. this is something you can hold, right? Slower moving energy. Then you have Wands. This is I'm so sorry. Earth energy, here to back up. This is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. All right. Then you have fire energy. These are the Wands. Okay, so this is Sagittarius, Aries, and Leo. This is the energy of fire. So fire is the element of spirit. So conviction, passion, creativity, this kind of a thing. All right. So the first thing I want to do is to go through the major arcana because this tells a story. I'm not the greatest at telling this story, but what I would recommend doing is, first of all, start with the 4 elements and wrap your mind around what each of these elements is about. Okay? And then understand that each element goes 1 through 10, and then there are court cards, a page, a knight, a queen, and a king. All right? That's how each of these is set up, and the major set is a little bit different. So, let's get into the majors. The first step you have is the Fool, and he is elemental air. This is card 0. He talks about taking a risk or a leap of faith. As you can see here, he's packed light. He is young, naive, not wizened by the hardships and the painful lessons of the world, and has people or unconditionally loving ones nipping at his heels saying, hey, you're about to step off a cliff. And he's like, I don't care. I always land on my feet. So this is the Fool. This is new energy. This is a risk. Then you have the Magician. The Magician is mercurial. The Magician talks about manifesting, about using each one of these aces, all of the tools in his wheelhouse to bring about change, and this is something you do over and over and over in your life. So mercurial is speaking to the planet of Mercury, so that's like Gemini and Virgo, right? Some people also equate the Magician with Aries because he is the first sign in the zodiac. But what you see here in these cards is that he has the ace of each element. The Ace of Cups, Pentacles, Swords, and Wands. And he uses all of those because, like him, we can channel any of these energies at any given point in time. And we literally create our own reality, okay? So it's beautiful. Then you have the High Priestess. She is directly tied to Pisces, but she's also heavily identified with Cancer. She is the intuitive. She is the tarot reader, the psychic, the medium. She is a witch. She knows more than she says. She is a direct connect to the divine, and there is a very magnetic sexual appeal to her because she is an old soul. She's beautiful in her own right, if not straight up by traditional standards. But like this pomegranate curtain behind her, there's much more to her than what you see. She is beautiful. She can symbolize secrets. Third card in the deck is the Empress. She is ruled by Venus, so she is Taurus and Libra. She's usually depicted as being pregnant, and she is the mother of the tarot. So for me, personally, as a reader, she's also Cancer. She is fertile and creative, and the divine feminine. She is comfortable and abundant and confident. She is the Queen of Queens. She is not wanting or chasing anything, but rather sitting back and welcoming and warming and receptive and loving. She's divine feminine energy. She's wonderful. She can symbolize the birth of something or someone. She is also like twin flame energy for me as a reader. Number 4, you have her counterpart, the Emperor, right? He is the King of Kings. As you notice here, there's quite an age difference between the two of these, right? She's childbearing age. He obviously is much older. He is abundant and is a crusty bastard unless she's present. Traditionally, he's identified with Aries. I also read Taurus and Scorpio here. He is an entrepreneur. He's a boss. He is going to have things his way. If there is something in his sights that he wants, he gets it. Right? He can be manipulative. He can be a control freak. Like I said, without her present, he is a crusty bastard. So, number 5 here is the Hierophant. He is Taurus. He is, to me, the High Priestess counterpart in the 5D, right? So you have the Empress and the Emperor who rule the 3D, and then you have the High Priestess and the Hierophant who very much rule the 5D. He speaks to the divine sacred institutions like marriage, like soul contracts, counterparts, your soul path. He talks of things that are bigger than the day-to-day. He talks about spirituality. This can be like spiritual advisement or counsel. It can also talk about like bad guidance, like especially if he's reversed. The Lovers. Number 6 is one of my favorite cards. The Lovers is Gemini. The Lovers obviously is twin flame energy for me as a reader, but this more than anything talks about choices and consequences. So the Lovers is literally you know, what you own owns you kind of a thing. If you notice here, her, like the Garden of Eden with Eve and Adam, right? So she's very fertile, lot going on over here, right? Very enticing him, like his shit's all burned up. And he's like, you can see him like trying to go towards her. And then you have the archangel above them. It's either Gabriel, Michael, I can never remember. But this is literally like the divine helping you in important decisions in your life and knowing that there are very real consequences that you're accountable for, that, you know, that kind of a thing. And I notice here like this mountain between the two, right? Like these two obviously need to be together, want to be together, and there's just like something there, right? It's your choice. Do you climb that mountain or you just let it ride? It's up to you. Then you have the Chariot, which is Cancer, which is bizarre to me. I'm a Cancer sun, and Cancers are crabs. Like, we're known for being indirect, right? Like, even like biological, like physical crabs, like they sidestep their way indirectly towards things, right? And that's the thing with the Chariot. There is a white horse and a dark horse, and the trick here is to get these two, your light and your shadow, into alignment. And once that happens, you take off like a rocket, right? So the Chariot talks about like this rocket speed victory march that happens once your thoughts and feelings come into alignment and you take such appropriate action. That's when your life speeds up and you know you're doing something right. It's a good card to have. Strength. This is Leo. This is the maiden who is gently prying open the jaws of a lion, right? And she does this through maturation, through self-restraint, and through a delicacy of not just oh, I'm not thinking of the words right now, but she's using her femininity to open his mouth, to coax it open instead of just brute force. That's what I was looking for. So strength can talk about all of those things. It can talk about this ongoing process of maturation that we go through in our lives. It can also talk about self-restraint, and using different means when dealing with a certain beast like that, if that makes sense. This is the direct trump for the devil card, which we'll see in a minute. Strength card trumps the devil. Then you have justice. This is Libran energy. So justice is a card of karma. It can be good karma or bad karma, depending on whatever is coming to you. It can talk about court. It can talk about legal matters. But yeah, there's the sword of truth and the scales of balance, right and wrong. This also goes back to ancient Egypt with like the feathers of Ma'at, M-A''A'-T, where like to get into like their equivalent of heaven, like you had to have a feather heart, right? So justice is blind, and it comes to all of us. Libra. The Wheel of Fortune. So what you have here, this talks about a sudden change in fortune towards the good, where things might have been held up or delayed, or you might have been going through a crap period in your life. There is the Wheel of Fortune here. And what you have around this are the signs of fixed energy. So you have, let me see if I can do this backwards, Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio. So, and then the letters on the wheel spell out Rota, which means wheel. But this is a really good card to have. This basically means like in divine time, or things are about to get really good. This is commonly associated with Jupiter, which is Sag. Then you have, I think I did those backwards. Yeah, this is number 9. This is the Hermit. This is Virgo energy. So he has a star in his lantern. The Hermit obviously is not a social butterfly. He takes time out in like this almost like wintry landscape to go within, to hibernate, to read the letters on his soul, right? To understand his soul's path and calling and where he's been, why he is where he is now, and where he's going. This can symbolize no talking, right? Then you have the Hanged Man, which is a very similar energy for me. This is Pisces. This talks about looking at, this is about stopping where you are, the hustle and bustle of the day-to-day life, to literally suspend yourself, to have like an out-of-body, higher level perspective, to get a new perspective on whatever it is that you're going through. This can be an epiphany. This can also be no talking. Like, I'm not going to deal with this conflict right now. Like, I need to know, I need to figure out how I feel about it, kind of thing. This is Pisces. Then you have Death. This is card number 13, and that is the Rose of the Yorks. So, like, this is in, like, Shakespeare plays and this kind of a thing. But death comes for everyone, right? And you can see, like, this, like, bubonic plague kind of setting here. But the Death card is not a bad thing. This is Scorpio, obviously. The Death card talks about endings and new beginnings. They are inherent. Where one thing ends, another one inherently will begin. This doesn't talk about like something is dead and it's gone and it's never coming back. It's also like the chrysalis, right? Like the caterpillar into the cocoon, into the butterfly, where there can be transformation. It's beautiful energy. This is not something to be afraid of. Then you have Temperance, which is Sagittarius. This to me talks about healing and patience and moderation, and given to you, provided to you through working with the divine. Very beautiful energy here. The Devil. This is Capricorn. The devil talks about self-imposed bondage, be it through addiction of any sort. So codependency, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is. If you notice, these are the lovers here in chains, right? Maybe he's a womanizer, maybe she eats too much, whatever it is. But if you look around their necks, they're not held there by anything other than the perception that they have to stay put. You can leave this at any time, okay? The devil can also talk about fixation. The Tower. This is Mars energy here. So this is Aries and Scorpio. The Tower talks about sudden unexpected changes. And the Tower events are usually like a crumbling of anything that was built on a faulty foundation. So towers don't happen where they shouldn't happen. So this lesson right here, these are the lovers flying out of the tower, right? The divine coming in and saying, okay, y'all didn't walk away when we tried to give you all of these other hints, so we're blowing this up. You've got to leave this. This is not going to last. We're tearing it down for you. Towers are not always bad, but they are sudden and usually unexpected. They don't happen where they're not needed. Then you have the Star. The Star is Aquarius. This talks about like answered prayers from the divine. It's a beautiful energy. This is also a card of healing. This is the water bearer, right? This is Aquarius. Right there. It's very beautiful. Then you have the moon. This is also Pisces and Cancer. A lot of people talk about this little sea creature right here being Cancer, but I'm sorry, that's a fucking lobster. This talks about fear and illusions and using your intuition to guide yourself through. There is a domesticated dog and a wild wolf here, and the pillars of towers on either side of what could happen, right? This talks about following your intuition through fear to get to where it is you're supposed to be. Because if you notice, within the cycles of the moon, it eventually comes back whole. And when you have a full moon, everything is enlightened. Everything that was hidden comes to the surface. And when you follow your intuition, you end up where you're supposed to be. Then you have the Sun. The Sun is also Leo energy. It's the happiest card in the deck. It trumps everything. The Sun talks about new beginnings. The Sun talks about clarity and happiness. And to me, it also looks like eggs and bacon, for whatever that's worth. Then you have the World. The World, wait a minute, I did these backwards. Judgment! Judgment talks about like Judgment Day, like there is a finite decision making here. This is the resurrection of the lovers. This can symbolize like the return of a past life soulmate. This is karma come calling to your door. So a lot of the times this can be somebody coming back. Then you have the World. So this is the final step in the journey. This is Aquarius, Scorpio, Leo, and Taurus, your fixed energies. And what looks like to me like the water bearer here in the middle here, right, like completely vulnerable. So yeah, that's your major arcana. The first thing to do there is to just memorize the steps. Then what I did in learning these, I'm a see it, hear it, write it, read it, repeat it kind of a person. So I am going to go through all of the elements together. So with the elements, hang on. We start with 1. Aces talk about new beginnings. Okay. And if you notice in all of these, they are being offered by hand. This is said to be the hand of God, right? So wands talk about a fiery new beginning. Some people also call this the penis card or the wand of passion. I think that's awesome. Then you have the Ace of Pentacles. This is the cornerstone for a happily ever after. This is where all good things that last start from. This is, like I said, the slowest moving energy, but it is real. You can see it. There's proof of it. It is in front of you, and it's very valuable. Then you have the Ace of Swords. This energy can cut away bullshit, and it can also shed light. Fast-moving energy. Then you have the Ace of Cups. This talks about self-love and also the potential beginning of love with another individual in any scene. Family, friend, loved one, loved one, hell, romance, whatever. Aces are beginnings. Then you have the twos, okay? Twos talk about decisions and choices. So the Two of Wands talks about, I have the world in my hand. The world is literally my oyster. I have to pick a direction and go for it. And what you can see here is he's chosen one, right? This is his decision. This is what he's convicted towards. This is where the world is calling him. The Two of Pentacles talks about a similar energy, but from a practical standpoint, he pros and cons everything. And as you can see, he's not necessarily having an easy go of it. Like, if I go with this option, there will be these ups and downs, and with this one, vice versa. And as you can tell, he tends to be kind of pessimistic because he's always looking down, right? The Two of Swords talks about being willfully blind. She's not handcuffed. She doesn't have her hands tied behind her. She's guarding herself from really either option here, and she's blindfolded, and she's not doing anything to change that. This is about needing to make a decision and not doing it. And you have the Two of Cups. These are the lovers. So the Two of Cups talks about soulmates, talks about twin flames, in my opinion, and this is the caduceus, right? This is healing. This is in alignment, even if it's just with you. This is your heart and your mind being in alignment with one another. And here, this line right here, I always see Leo. Leo is a big heart energy for me. For me, Leo is not a water sign at all. But Leo loves like a child, right? And that is the most uninhibited and unconditional kind of love that humans know, is the love of a child. So to me, that's what I think of when I see this card. I see it as very healing and very pure. Then you have the threes. Threes talk about expansion. So in the Two of Wands, we had our critter making a decision. At this point now, he's taking action towards those ships coming into harbor. So this talks about manifesting. You think a thing, you want a thing, you choose a thing, you go towards a thing, right? That's what he's doing here. He is taking the actions towards manifesting what his soul's calling for. The Three of Pentacles talks about putting somebody on a pedestal. It talks about building a sturdy foundation with others, and it can also talk about third-party situations. The Three of Swords talks about a third-party situation. It talks about thoughts or conversations that can hurt, if nothing else. It's a very archetypal card right here. It's very, very recognizable. This stands for heartache and disappointment, even though it is swords energy. This is about your perception. Somebody might have disappointed you. They might have said something ugly to you, but this is about your perception of it. Nobody can break your heart except you. Nobody can hurt you without your permission. And then you have the Three of Cups. The Three of Cups talks about reconnecting with friends, family, loved ones, someone you've not seen in a long time. It can also be a card of third-party situations, depending on the context of other things. This can be a card of going out and having fun. It can also be a card of excess and partying too much. Fours. Four of Wands talks about the kind of stability that you celebrate. So this is literally a Jewish chuppah, right? Like at a wedding. This is a marriage scene. And if you see here, this talks about 1111. So if you don't know what that is, that's the twin flame number. But this is, in essence, the kind of stability that is celebrated. The Four of Pentacles is the miser of the tarot. He has lack mentality. He guards his heart with that one big old coin he's got there. This is the Ebenezer Scrooge of the tarot deck. We are what we manifest. So if you operate based off a lack mentality, you'll go through your whole life and only have these four coins. This to me is also the card of gold diggers. They don't really care about love or learning or anything else. They just want that money. Buyer beware. The Four of Swords. This is the depiction of a Knight Templar coming back to lay on top of his own sarcophagus after battle. And it was a thing that they would do after they returned from war. If they survived, they would come sleep on top of it in reverence for the fact that God let them live. So sit there acknowledging that this could have ended up very disappointing for them, right? They are resting on the sword of truth that they have been protected through this battle. This card talks about healing. This card talks about rest and recuperation and being reinvigorated through rest. This can also be like going to lay on a therapist's couch, kind of a thing. Then you have the Four of Cups. So here again, we see the Ace of Cups being offered by the hand of God, and this punk not looking at any of it. We have a spoiled brat here staring at this crap right here. These party goers going out, having all the fun and this kind of a thing, and all the while missing this opportunity here, which is a gift from the divine. So this talks about missed opportunities because you're not paying attention. It's a hard lesson to learn. Then we have fives. The Five of Wands, this talks about conflict and competition in any regard. The Five of Pentacles talks about being left out in the cold. You see, he's like beat up and busted, and this one's like got tattered clothing, but they are together. This is that for better or for worse card for me. It really depends on the context of the reading here, but what you'll notice is they're outside of what looks like a church. Spirit is always there for you, even when you have not a dime to your name, 2 nickels to rub together. Spirit's always there for you. Your poverty is by and large perception, right? Being left out in the cold, typically at the hands of another. Then you have the Five of Swords. This smug punk is pretty tickled with himself for I've gotten the best of these two people who look really pretty embarrassed about the whole situation. This talks about like the kind of argument where somebody is arguing to win and not arguing to fix a situation. So this is a futile conversation. This is not respectful. This is not productive. This is somebody approaching a confrontation from an egotistical standpoint and not one from a place of love. So you get this card, you walk away from this energy. Okay? We much rather see this in the reverse, which means they're being completely open and vulnerable. upright, they're coming at you with ego, and they're going to say whatever it takes to win and maintain their reputation. We don't like this. The Five of Cups. He looks real sad, huh? So, in the Four of Cups, you see he's sitting there not paying attention to this, right? So what could have been his Two of Cups, which probably was his Two of Cups in some regard, he can't even see it. It's right there behind him, but he's focused on all this stagnant pond water that's flowing out of this junk over here. This card talks about being left. Okay? This is disappointment and sadness. This is feeling disappointment and sadness. Whereas, where is it? This card talks about thinking it, or even speaking it. Okay? Then we have sixes. The Six of Wands talks about the victory march. It talks about pride and having a positive public recognition. It can also talk about narcissism and egotism, however you say that. So yeah, this is good, or, and I'll say healthy or toxic depending on the situation. But typically this is like minor arcana chariot energy. There's a victory that's been had here. The Six of Pentacles is like low or minor arcana justice energy for me. This talks about, see the scales? This talks about charity. But more than that, this talks about equal give and take, right? This can talk about giving to another person, like in the context of a third-party situation, so you want to watch that. This can also talk about breadcrumbing somebody from someone coming from like more of a manipulative stance. So, not always a good thing. The Six of Cups. This is one of my favorite cards in the whole deck. This talks about past life soulmates. This also talks about sweet thoughts of nostalgia. This can talk about remembering the past the way you want to remember it, not necessarily how it was. And what's interesting here, if you notice the age difference between these two, she's like little, and he's like kind of little. I think that's precious. These got out of order. The Six of Swords. So this talks about conversations, right, that take you from a troubled place with somebody to smoother waters, right? Like they sailing over to Paradise Island. And I think it's interesting here is that you have this man that's leading this boat, right? And then there's this female and this child there. But yeah, this can talk about your own thoughts, just progressing from turbulent to smooth. But the Six of Swords energy always talks about a lightening of energy. Okay? Then you have sevens. Sevens are rough. 7 is the number of spirit. So challenges are innate with that. The Seven of Wands talks about blocking someone, like on social media. It also talks about having the high ground. In meaning by God that you're not going down. Like, this is my victory here, right? But typically, in today's day and age, this can talk about blocking someone out. The Seven of Pentacles talks about retrospect on where you've spent your time. Have you reaped what you've sown, or what you've hoped you'd sown out of something? This talks about looking back and seeing what you've harvested. This usually doesn't come up for me very much in a great sense. But this to me is kind of similar to a Six of Cups energy, and where you've got somebody looking back to the past from a retrospect kind of a situation. The Seven of Cups Very interesting card. You see this person standing there very dramatically, like overwhelmed, right? And there's all these strange things coming out of here. Like there's like a snake and a ghost and a laurel wreath and a dragon and like a Medusa head. Like this is the card that says what you own owns you. This talks about confusion. It also talks about daydreaming and wishful thinking. Did it again. And here's old Sneaky. He sneaks into camp in the middle of the night and steals 5 swords and then is going to turn around and go back and get the other 2. This is a liar, a cheater, a sneak. This is also getting caught. It's also being strategic. He's not always an asshole, but typically he is. Then we have 8s. This 8 of Wands, these are Cupid's arrows of love. This talks about fast-moving communication and movement. So when you see this card, something's coming in hot. And you see all those little green buds on there. That's like spring energy. Something is going to grow from this potentially. Then you have the 8 of Pentacles. This talks about hard work, putting in the time, effort, energy, and the want to grow something valuable. He is a hard worker, and he is here for it. Okay? I'm not doing this again. 8 of Swords. This is like minor arcana devil energy. So she's very loosely bound here and has set up this like barrier of her thoughts. This card's fascinating to me. Literally, your thoughts, your perception create your reality. The only thing that's keeping her stuck here are her own thoughts. There's nothing holding her here other than the belief that she has to stay there. Very powerful card. Then you have the 8 of Cups. So in the 5 of Cups, let me see if I can find it. In the 5 of Cups, you have somebody that's heartbroken because they were left. And here, the 8 of Cups, this person is doing the leaving. This card, kind of people want to, like I usually want to associate this with sad, but it's not. This person is going towards their sadness. They're saying, you know what, there are 8 cups here, and that's awesome, but I want my 10. Sorry for shaking the table. I want my 10 cups, right? And then there's a lot of the moon. I'm following my intuition here in this freaking whitewater rapids of emotion here that are ever freaking changing in this gigantic ass mountain I gotta climb. But by God, I got 2 more cups. I gotta find my 2 of cups, right? I missed it. It left me. Maybe not for everybody, but I'm going to find my 2 cups. I don't need 10, I don't need these. I don't like these. I want 2. So then you got 9s. 9s talk about almost completing a journey. So basically you're about at the end of it. The end is in sight, right? So you have the 9 of Wands. This is the wounded warrior. He has the chips stacked against him, but he has that 1 wand of passion, right? Right here. He has that 1 wand of passion in his hand, and he knows no quitting since. He's going to give it one last push, and he doesn't quit. Sorry. Then you have the 9 of Pentacles. This is Virgo energy. She is a minor arcana empress. She's dressed well. She has exotic pets. She takes care of herself, her home. She works a full-time job. She does it all. And she looks good while she's doing it. Self-assured, confident business person right here. Then you have the 9 of Swords. This person is up at night, tortured by their own thoughts. They are sitting on the edge of the bed, face palming themselves. Just, this card to me looks like anxiety and depression and nightmares and just misery. And it's all thoughts. Nine of Cups. This can be a smug punk, somebody who drinks too much, somebody who likes trophies. This is also the wish card. The Nine of Cups can talk about a wish coming true. Then you have tens. So, the Ten of Wands, tens talk about completion. The Ten of Wands talks about the end of a very heavy, back-breaking, burdensome cycle. Letting it go. The Ten of Pentacles, actually, let me get to that last. I'm going to go to here. The Ten of Swords, right? The finale to a very incredibly overkilling, painful cycle. It does not take 10 swords in the back to kill somebody. It takes one. This is dead and done and ain't coming back to life. The good thing about this is it gets no worse. So now, the two Happy cards. I do love these. You have families here, right? And there are like children in both of these. Like there's like an old man and like these people and this kind of a thing. Dogs, like all this good stuff, right? This is emotional happy. This is happily ever after. So if ever offered the two of these, you want this one, okay? This doesn't leave. Emotions are temporary. Pentacles are not. Now, we shall get into the court cards and wrap this up. Court cards start with pages. These are typically people represented in your readings. It can be you, it can be another person, it can be the description of a situation. Pages are messages, okay? And the kind of message that's coming through here is directly related to the suit the page belongs to. So this is a creative new idea, right? And creative ideas can take form in many different areas of our life, right? The Page of Pentacles, he's studying something. This can be an offer or a gift. The Page of Swords can be watching you. He's the spy of the tarot. This is your Facebook stalker. And the Page of Cups is typically an apology, okay? A dreamer. Then you have Knights. Knights talk about movement. The Knight of Wands is the player of the deck. To me, Knights are like that 20s energy. They're usually identified with males. And to me, they are the mutable energy of each sign. So this is typically identified with Sagittarius. Not that all Sagittariuses are players. But he comes fast, goes fast, follows whatever is fun and fiery, right? He's a lot of fun to be around, but he probably ain't going to be there forever or for very long. The Knight of Pentacles is the slowest moving knight in the whole deck. This is Virgo. He is the slowest moving knight, but he's reliable, and he is the only one that crosses the finish line. Ooh, then you have this fast moving critter right here. This is Gemini. Is it Gemini? I think it's Gemini. This is typically identified or related to like somebody who has something to say when they're angry. This is unexpected. This is sudden. This is quick. This is out of nowhere. And typically not very nice. Maybe not hateful, but they're not ooey gooey or warm and cuddly. Then you have Don Juan over here. The Knight of Cups. This is Pisces, right? We don't make an enemy. He is just damn loving everybody. This is Casanova. He might love you to death, but he loves 4 or 5 others just as much, right? The romantic, the dreamer, the idealist, not necessarily somebody who is going to be a stable provider, but he's going to romance the socks out of you. He brings you flowers and takes you to all the great restaurants and stuff, but he might be doing the same with some other folks too. Then you have the queens. So queens are cardinal energy for me. I'll start with this one because I know this one the best. This is Cancer for me. The Queen of Cups. She's an intuitive. She's a psychic, medium, a tarot card reader. She's emotional. She knows you better than you know yourself. She is the highest love card in the whole deck and the embodiment of love. She can also be given to emotional lability. So watch out. Then you have the Queen of Swords. This is Libra. If you notice, she's holding the Sword of Truth. And she's got her hand out like, come lie to me, MFer, I dare you. She is the Widow, the Ice Queen. She is factual and to the point because she knows pain. She doesn't do schmooze. She just assumed cut your head off as to listen to you lie to her. Then you have the Queen of Pentacles. And this is Capricorn. She is the 1950s housewife 2.0. She is my favorite queen. She is, to me, like a court card empress. She's nurturing. She's a hard worker. She takes care of herself, her family, everyone around her. But she operates from a place of self-love. She is a wife. She is a mother. She is beautiful and makes a wonderful home. Then you have the Queen of Wands. She is a mystic, as seen here with this black cat. She can also be the other woman. She can also be a gold digger. But she is confident and she goes after what the hell she wants. And she's always extremely attractive. Then we have the Kings. And then we're done. The King of Wands I see as Aries, cardinal energy, right? Did I do that right? No, I did not. No. I'm getting confused. This is Leo. This is Aries. It doesn't matter. We can all harness any of this energy at any given time. But this is Leo. This is fixed energy, right? He can be a player. He is charming. He gets what he wants. He goes after whatever he wants. And sometimes that's not always a good thing. Hello, Dory. He can be manipulative. Very attractive. And a bit of a chameleon. You have to watch him. Then you have the King of Pentacles. This is Daddy with a coin. He is abundant. He is a boss. He is a father, a husband, or wants to be, or would make a great one. He's stable, reliable, dependable, will take care of you, rub your feet, your back, and put a roof over your head and make sure your belly's full. He is a walking dag bod and a beard. He's lovely. This to me is Taurus. Love him. He can be materialistic. The King of Swords. Whew. This is the Ice Queen's brother, I think traditionally in the tarot. This is Aquarius. This is facts. This is the exaltation of logic and wonderful decision making. He can also be manipulative, but whereas like negotiation is concerned, he always gets his way. He is incredibly intelligent. And the Master of Emotions, the King of Cups. This is typically Scorpio. If you notice, he is surrounded by water, which is emotions, and he ain't even dipped his foot in it. It's because he knows how turbulent it can be. He always has a constipated look on his face because he's full of emotion and almost never speaks on them. So, in 55 minutes, that is tarot. God bless.